I'm always reminded of 2 Timothy 2:13, where it says, if I am faithless, he remains faithful because he cannot deny himself. And so that is one verse that I've also learned here. And that was just like, oh man, it's so, yeah, I always say it in my testimony too, because I'm just like, it had such a strong word. Every time I say it, I'm just like reminded of like how literally I am dirt, and it's humbling. But yeah, like I am nothing without the Lord. And so having a personal relationship with him is everything in the world to me.
Welcome to this week's episode of the His Hill Podcast. My name is Kelly Doherty, and I'm your host. Before we get started in our conversation today with one of our students, I want to speak to the alumni, really to anybody that would be interested and feels like the Lord would have you respond to this. But we have an alumni who lives in the north of North Carolina. And so she's in the middle of all the devastation that was brought in last week with the hurricane. And she is okay. Her home is fine. But the neighbors are just, it's devastating to see what's happened just even next door to her place. So if you've been watching this in the news and your heart's gone out to them, you think the Lord would have you take part in helping with that. In our show notes, you can find a couple of places. We'll put addresses in there, website addresses in there for you to click on those links and go and donate. I know that Samaritan's Purse is also taking applicants if you're wanting to actually go to the site and help. There's a lot of people that are signed up right now, but I'm sure as time goes by, there's going to be openings for that. So if you want to go and get in touch with them, they can direct you as to where to go and how to apply. So anyway, I wanted to bring that up to you if you were interested in helping out there at all. Okay. So with me today, I have one of our second-year students from British Columbia, Cass Gerbrandt. Did I say it right?
That's right.
I tried too hard, didn't I?
No, it's good.
Okay. She's, again, one of our second-year students. We've had her brother on the podcast. Dawson was on last winter, maybe it was. And so anyway, which one of you is older?
Me.
Okay.
2 years.
Okay. She's 2 years older, and we finally got around to getting her on the podcast. So, Cass, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me, Kelly.
It's good to have you. I appreciate you being willing to. I know that some people are scared to be on the podcast. I'm curious. Are you scared?
A little bit.
I
don't know.
What are you scared of?
Really nothing. It's so irrational, but I don't know. I think it's just like the pressure,
Uh-huh.
I don't know. Just a lot of nerves come with. It's not public speaking, but I know that there's a lot of people listening, so that's a little intimidating.
Well,
but
I get it.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Well, everybody says they're scared when they get started, and by the time it's over with, they forgot that they were scared.
Exactly.
So pretty soon that'll be the case. Okay, Cass, tell us a little bit about yourself. I said you're from British Columbia, but exactly where?
I'm from Abbotsford, British Columbia. So I was born there, kind of grew up a little bit, like maybe 20 minutes west. So a place, a little city called Aldergrove.
Yeah.
But then, just like I think like maybe 10 years ago, we moved back to Abbotsford. So basically lived there most of my life. But,
okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what street in Aldergrove?
Oh, 256th.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the reason I ask is because Arlene, my wife, is from.
Right.
Yeah. She actually was from Aldergrove and then moved to Abbotsford too.
Yeah. Very similar stories. I
Yes.
think.
Yeah. Okay. So for those of you who don't know that means she grew up just over the border, just real
right
close.
Across the border.
Yeah. Well, tell us about your family. Do you come from a believing family?
Yeah. I praise the Lord for that, honestly. My parents have both been strong believing Christians my whole life. I think they also grew up in very strong Christian households, which has kind of equipped them to parent us into I guess just a believing household. So that's been a really big blessing, which I kind of took for granted, honestly, like growing up. But now I have like such high respect for them for that. We just do like the normal Christian things like church on Sunday, youth group during the week, summer camp sometimes every once in a while.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. How many siblings do you have?
I have 2 siblings. So Dawson is my younger sibling. He's 2 years younger. And then Malia is 2 years older than me. So
and all 3 of you are alumni.
Yeah, we've all been here now. So it's exciting.
That's neat. Okay. So let me know, what was it like growing up in a Christian home, attending church? What was it like for you with Jesus? Like, what did that mean to you?
That's so funny. My memory is so bad, but I think growing up, like I always knew the name of Jesus and like who he was, and like all the Bible stories and the basic just like his life through the Gospels. Very surface level, I think it was for me. Like I go into Sunday school, I'd listen, I get bored, so I wouldn't really pay attention. So I didn't fully know what it meant to know him, but I knew who he was and what he did, and I could understand like why he did what he did, and that I was saved from my sins because of his sacrifice. But other than that, like I really didn't, I don't know, see the desire or even the need to like really know him more and have a relationship with him. So it was more of like my parents, grew us up like in the church and stuff. And so we heard of his name, but it was really only my parents' faith that I kind of took for myself. And so up until like probably maybe 3 years ago, really, I started taking that seriously.
Okay. So how old were you when you became a believer?
I think I was 5.
Okay, 5. Yeah. Okay. And so what was so you weren't taking it serious, but what was going on in your life? From 5 to 3 years ago, what was it like for you to be a Christian?
It was very, like I said, like it was mostly just like my parents, like church on Sunday we were obligated to go. So I went because I was told to, and I was told that it was good. And the stories were interesting, so I was always a little interested in that. But other than that, like besides maybe church on Sundays and then youth groups and stuff throughout the years, I didn't really prioritize that. And it would just be like those days that I'd be like, okay, yeah, like I can understand this, I can see it, but it never really came home with me. It never really stuck with me.
So the consistency in going to church or even being active with other believers kind of came from the expectation of your parents.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, not wanting to disappoint. Kind of just like going with the flow, going with what the crowd said. I'm very much a follower than a leader. And so I think I can easily just find myself like stuck there.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's hard to leave once I fall into that.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Okay. So your teenage years then, were they, because there was no depth or seriousness in following Jesus, what were your teenage years like?
They were interesting. A lot of rebellion with my parents. Not that they would do anything wrong. It was just, you're a teenager. You want to rebel. When you're told to do something, you want to do the exact opposite just because you're told to do that thing. That was very much my mindset growing up. And so I was definitely not the easiest child to raise. I recognize that now. But I think like in school and stuff, again, like I was a very strong follower. And so I would just go with the crowd. And so I had a very good group of friends in high school. And thank the Lord, we're still friends today. And they still love the Lord, and they're very strong believers.
Your friends?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, my high school friend group. But then at the same time, I had like another friend group kind of off to the side.
Really?
Like, yeah, it was kind of, but.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
How did you find those friends? If you're going to church because your parents have you there,
Yeah.
and you're going to school and you have Christian friends, did you go to a private school?
Yeah, I went to MEI.
Okay, so Christian school. And okay, so how did you have another circle of friends?
It started with family friends. And so we would hang out with them like, I don't know, at least once a week. Like weekends, we'd always go to their house. They'd come to our house, and our families would just like hang out. And so, they were believers also. I just don't know how strong of believers they were.
Okay.
But I think that they very much influenced me into like the partying scene, the drinking scene, just like that whole lifestyle. And I thought that was very cool, and I wanted to be in that because it seemed fun and it was satisfying for the moment. But so over the years, like I think over the span of probably like 2-3 years, I was just like kind of drug in that because I don't know, to them, my high school friends group like just didn't seem as, I don't want to say maybe exciting, but yeah, I just found more satisfaction in that, I guess.
Okay. So. All right. How did that affect you with the Lord?
A lot, actually. I think, it's interesting because I think I've always had such strong convictions about what is right and wrong. I've never questioned the existence of God or like that he was living in me. I was always very aware of that and very, I believed in that very strongly, even though my life just didn't reflect that. But yeah, I think kind of like Sunday school, like it was almost like my friend group at school, like they showed me the Lord in like amazing ways, and like I saw a lot of joy in that, and there was. But then outside of that, I think I so easily slipped in with like the wrong crowd, and it was just like, again, it was just one thing that I was like, this is a lot more fun than being a good, like not a good person, but like doing the right thing, I guess.
Okay, so you knew what you were doing.
Yeah, very much so.
Did you ever feel guilty about that?
Yes and no. Like as I would do it, I'd be like, okay, this is wrong. I know it is, but it's satisfying. So why wouldn't I just keep doing that? And then eventually, like, I think like the year after COVID, maybe like 2022 or 2021, I can't remember. Then it, like I got sick and stuff. And so I was just like kind of at my wit's end at like my rock bottom. And so that's when I kind of started like realizing how like what I was doing was affecting my life, not even like just myself, but like the people around me as well. Just being like an influence. And yeah, the Lord kind of struck a chord, and he was just like, how do I even explain this? Yeah. He was very much just convicting me, like more so than I was before, I feel like, over my actions and how it wasn't glorifying to him. It wasn't honoring to him. And just revealed to me like the two-faced life I was kind of living, in a very soft way. Like it wasn't like condemning or anything. It was very much like, him just like softly revealing these things over time. And yeah, it was a cycle of like leaving that and then falling back into it. Like I'd get closer with my friend group at high school, and I'd like be more distant with my friend group outside of high school. And then, yeah, it was kind of just like a circle.
Okay.
Like yeah.
Okay. Did your parents, were they aware of these things going on?
Yeah, they knew kind of what was going on because they were aware of the people that I was hanging out with. But I don't think they knew the extent to what I was doing. It wasn't anything like drastic, like crazy, but it still wasn't, looking back at it, like honestly glorifying or honoring to the Lord or my parents in that way. But
okay.
Yeah.
So it was the Holy Spirit alone, just directly in your heart, not using your parents or somebody else to convict you of this.
Yeah, most definitely.
Okay. All right. So, tell us, how did things progress with this? What changed things?
Honestly, it was through health problems. So I would go through that cycle of like, hanging out with my friends out of high school, and then like getting closer to my friends in high school, and then kind of going back and forth a little bit. So there was a big cycle of just on and off. I guess, being on fire for the Lord at some point, and then at other points just reaching like such a rut and like not, really having a desire or seeking him at all. But then, so I think it was in 2021, I started having more health issues, which in particular, I think it was in like March of 2022 or no, sorry, 2021. I started having really drastic health issues, which happened like right away out of nowhere, really. Basically one day I just got so sick out of nowhere. I still don't know where it came from, if it was something I ate or really what caused it. But one day out of the blue, I just got extremely sick. Couldn't eat anything, couldn't drink anything really without keeping it down and so I guess over the span of like 6 days, I lost 10 pounds in 5 days.
That's incredible.
Which is, crazy, because that's so unnatural, and that's just like such an extreme thing. So over that span of, I guess, 6 days, I started losing weight rapidly. I lost strength almost immediately. I was bedbound for that whole time. And then eventually, I think over like 2 days, maybe my parents, or my mom more specifically, started noticing. And so she was like, we need to take you to the hospital because this isn't normal. Like, I don't know what to do. There's nothing like that we can do for you right here besides just like try and feed you and try to keep it down. So they both took me to the hospital, I guess, that night. And we stayed in emergency for like 8 hours, just waiting to be seen by anybody really. And that was like in the just getting over COVID, or I guess still in the middle of COVID. And so hospitals were not at a great state either. And so we went to the hospital, waited 8 hours, finally got seen by a doctor, and he was like, you'll be fine. Like, we haven't seen this before. Like, you'll get over it in like a couple of days. Just
have not seen this before? Or have?
Yeah, haven't. And so yeah, I was confused. I wasn't really in a mental state where I could like understand what he was really saying because I was so out of it. But praise the Lord, my mom was there and she was like mother bear, like all in, like do something for my child. Like there's something that's got to be done. And so I ended up going back the next day to get an ultrasound. And that came back completely clean, nothing wrong. And then I got seen by a specialist later that day after we got the results. And he did a couple exams on me and was basically just like, there's nothing wrong with you. Like, you're fine. You'll get over it in a couple of days. And I was just like so discouraged. And my mom was like so confused too. Because we were going here to get answers, but obviously did not get that. And so, yeah, we went home, I guess that day, tried eating for like, I guess 2 more days after that. And then, eventually went back to a different emergency room, hoping that they would have something to say or try and get some sort of results. And so they got me an x-ray.
Okay.
And that obviously came back clean also. And then I don't even know where he even thought about this, but the doctor that got me that x-ray, he was like, I think you just have too much stomach acid in your stomach. And I was just like, well, that sounds weird because your stomach's supposed to make stomach acid. And so how could it make too much? And so he prescribed me some medication, and then I took that immediately and almost immediately felt like so much better. Wow. And so by the next morning I was eating completely normal again.
Really?
And so, which was like absurd. Make it make sense. I don't know. But yeah, so I guess the next couple of weeks, and so like probably 3 weeks, it took me to like recuperate and just like get strength back and be able to walk normally. Cause that whole time I needed help to walk because I lost so much strength, so much muscle mass right away. And so
you needed somebody to lean on to walk, but you could not walk by yourself.
Right. Which, wow. I mean, spiritual application. Hello. But yeah. But yeah, all that being said, I always share that in my testimony because that is the moment where I kind of like hit a turning point. And that whole time, even though it was such like an extreme, absurd, like series of events, I guess, I never once felt the peace of God leave me, which is still looking back at it, like that's the only explanation that I can think of. And so, yeah, I think that was just a huge testimony. And that's when the Lord really started like tearing down my walls. And so, yeah, that's when I really started like noticing him and like appreciating obviously the peace that he's given me and the parents that he's given me too. Even just seeing my mom's like sacrificial love for me was such an encouragement, and it still is to this day. And so, yeah, it was a lot.
Yeah, that's what an incredible testimony to his faithfulness and our unfaithfulness. Mm-hmm. You know, he doesn't abandon, he never leaves, never forsakes.
Right. Absolutely.
And to know that. So, okay, so the Lord, you're waking up to this now. So what did the Lord do? Where did he take you? What happened?
Yeah. It didn't go as fast as the health issues did, but yeah, I think slowly he was just like breaking down barriers, getting my attention. That was obviously like the peak of it. That's when my eyes were just open. It was like Paul, when like his scales just like fall off your eyes and you're just like, wow, like that was Jesus. Like that was amazing. And so, yeah, that was kind of the beginning of like me pursuing the Lord, I guess. And so even that week of just like being in bed, like there's nothing I could do besides like go on my phone or read the Bible. And so most of the time I ended up just like opening up the word randomly to different places, and just like pouring truth over myself. And my mom would come into my room and like pray over me. My dad did the same. And so.
Did your parents know that there was something spiritually going on?
I don't know. Maybe. Okay. I think my mom's always been a little bit more like aware of that.
Okay.
Like she knows that like obviously we don't battle against flesh and blood. It's about like the spiritual realms and stuff. But yeah, I think she might have, I don't know. I feel like she has a good sense of that.
Yeah.
But
okay.
Yeah. So yeah, praise the Lord that she was there the whole week and sacrificed herself, just to like literally bring food to my bed and me not even be able to eat it. And so, yeah, just being, poured out, I guess, or her love poured out over me, which
So how long did it take you to get better?
Well, after I started taking the prescription that I was given basically immediately, but the whole like recovery process was probably like 3-4 weeks
Okay.
altogether until I could actually like, it wasn't like every single day I still needed like help. Like slowly but surely I was like going up walking by myself, and the stairs were the hardest thing.
Oh, I bet.
Which was like, it's like after you do leg day in the gym, like you're walking up the stairs and your legs are shaking. And you just like can't control it. And so I'd be like pulling myself up with the railing, and it was so weird. But yeah, I think that took probably like 3 weeks, maybe 3-4 weeks, which is insane because of how fast it all fell off. And so,
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. So was this all going on during school?
No. So I graduated in 2019. This was in 2021.
Okay. So you were away from work then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Suddenly.
So how much longer before you were able to get back to work?
I think after a week or so, I wanted to be back at work. I never wanted to leave work because I'm a workaholic. I don't like leaving it. I like keeping myself busy in that way. And so as soon as I could, I was like, I'm jumping back in.
Okay.
So.
Okay. So when you got back, things got back to normal. Were you still growing spiritually?
Yeah, definitely. I started taking like church more seriously too, which is crazy because when you do a flip like that, it's like you don't realize how much like is being poured into you if you actually pay attention and like actually want to be there and desire like just what's being poured out into you. And so I started doing church more seriously. I think I started going to like our young adults group at church, hanging out with better friends and just having like personal time with the Lord and specifically like devotion to prayer, I think. And so over time it was still like I was still in that process and like season of life where I was like getting over the things that I was like addicted to, like alcohol or just kind of setting boundaries within the other friends that I had. And so it didn't all really happen like right away because it just takes time. And so but that was when it really started, like I started noticing things. I started being more convicted and like actually like listening to those convictions and recognizing that it was wrong and knowing that this satisfaction was so temporary. I think I always knew that part, but I think I again started taking it more seriously.
Okay.
Then.
So so what year are we in?
That was 2021.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you did try to come here, didn't you?
Yeah. So I was supposed to come to the Hill in the fall of 2021. And then
and everything that you just told us about happened in the winter?
Earlier. So that was in March, and then I was supposed to come in the fall.
Okay.
But then COVID was happening at the same time, and so the borders were shut down, and so I wasn't able to get across, unfortunately. But even looking back at that was such a blessing because I was still like that prescription didn't fix everything right away. It helped me like get back on track, like eating with my gut and stuff. But I think over the year I still experienced like, just like health issues in general, like just little small things. But I think at the state that I was, like I wouldn't have been able to stay in the fall. Like I would have definitely had to go home and like, So it was a blessing just seeing like the Lord's timing in that. And then coming in like 2022 was such a blessing.
And you came in the winter, so the second semester, right? Was that your first?
Yeah, so I did the regular year, so fall to spring.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
And that's why this is your last semester as a second year.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, the timing's confusing on that.
Okay.
I skipped a semester.
So what has the Lord done in your heart since you've been here?
A lot. Oh, my word. I don't even know where to begin, but...
I could tell you, I remember you as a first-year student.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I kind of remember where you were sitting, and every once in a while I'd look over, and your face, it showed you were really listening, but it looked like you were really thinking through some of this. Like, okay, so that's
definitely.
What was going on. Okay, it's funny. People don't realize that we can see those faces. Yeah, it's so funny as a teacher. You can see when somebody's listening.
Yeah.
Or when someone's or pretending to listen.
Yeah.
And you can see when somebody's tracking or when they're just getting through it.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
So that's why so often I can remember those things in classes. And I won't necessarily talk to students about it because it's not my business. The Lord's doing something, but I remember looking over at you, and I can remember you kind of leaning over, looking around the person in front of you one time and just really like really thinking through this. So what was going on?
Oh man. Well, Genesis was, I think a lot of people have the same like experience with that. But Genesis, like at the beginning of the year, opening it up and just like the beginning of the Bible and just reading word for word the beginning. And just, I think the biggest part that stood out to me from your class was knowing Genesis and understanding it fully allows you to have so much more, I guess, knowledge and understanding of the rest of the Bible. Like
Right.
it lays out the rest of the Bible. And so unless you understand Genesis, you won't completely understand like the rest of it.
Right.
And so that kind of just like laid a foundation for that. But also I think it was like, I mean, everybody says it, and I think this is probably most people's biggest takeaway was it takes God in the man for man to be the man that God made man to be. And so,
which is a quote from Major Thomas.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Everybody thinks I said it, but
yeah,
I'm just quoting him. But
Yeah.
okay.
that's a good quote. So
Yeah,
it's
it is.
worth
It's helped
remembering.
me a lot too.
Yeah, absolutely. It's puts everything so plainly, but it's just so profound at the same time. I don't know. Yeah, the first time I heard that, I was like, hold on, repeat that, because I don't know what on earth you just said. And then I think I wrote it down. It took me like 3 times to write it down. I was just like, maybe that's what I was thinking, because I was just like trying to remember what you said. But yeah, it took me like 3 times to write it down. But then once I actually got it down, I was like, oh, wow. Like that is heavy. That's deep. But it's so good. Like it's so pure. So
Yeah, I think it's a good way of saying it's so pure, because this truly is the basis of our existence.
Right.
We were created in the image of God. And so the only way we're going to live the way we were created to live is if the image of God is living out of us.
exactly.
And we keep thinking that we have to do something to make that happen. But all we are without the image of God is dirt.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
Dirt.
And so God breathed into the dirt His very life, and that's what brings about life. That's what brings about His image, Him living in us. And when we learn to trust Him, to abide in Him, in whatever's before us, then we're in the place we need to be for what He wants to do.
Exactly. Yep.
So so the Lord was waking you up to this, and so what has He done? What has He brought you with this?
I think, yeah, the biggest thing that I've learned out of being at the Hill for almost 2.5 years, I guess 2 years now, but was just the importance in like, yeah, I don't know, the importance of just having like a pure, solid relationship with the Lord and know it, like fully understanding what that means. And so I don't think it's something I can fully ever understand, but it's something that like I'm pursuing and like I want to like keep going. I don't know. I'm always afraid of like falling back into like my old ways, because that's just how my mind works. Like I go through cycles and I go into something really strong and then I fall back out of it like even harder than I went back into it. And so, yeah, I think one thing that the Hill has taught me is just to be like, I don't know, just to keep pursuing the Lord like day after day, because if I don't pursue it, like He'll pursue me because He won't ever stop. I'm always reminded of 2 Timothy 2:13, where it says, if I am faithless, He remains faithful, because He cannot deny Himself. And so that is one verse that I've also learned here. And that was just like, oh man, it's so, yeah, I always say it in my testimony too, because I'm just like, it's such a strong word. Every time I say it, I'm just like reminded of like how literally I am dirt, and it's humbling. But yeah, like I am nothing without the Lord. And so having a personal relationship with Him is everything in the world to me. And so, yeah, just being in a place that is like with such strong community of Christ followers and like people that want to be here and want to like pursue the Lord is such a crazy thing. Like nowhere else really. Like how many people in the world get to do this a year, maybe 2 years out of their life. And so just being here is like such a blessing, being poured into and like told that it's nothing like that I can do myself. But yeah, I don't know. It's like the Lord in and through me. So
Okay. So your first year was, eye-opening for you. What's the second year been like?
second year has been interesting to say the least. It's been challenging because it really makes you think more than first year. First year was great. Don't get me the wrong way with that. But yeah, first year I feel like was more so just like being poured out the Bible. Like you're in scripture every single day, like 5 hours a day, 23 hours a week. And yeah, I think it was more so like, it was almost more head knowledge for me. heart knowledge, of course, because you have to apply the things that you learned. But I think that's what second year has been for me, is just like applying what I've learned in first year and putting that into practice in like real life situations and scenarios. And I think that's one thing that I appreciate the most about the class, is that like you're being poured into, but you're also like almost forced. I put that in quotations because you're not actually forced, but like you're like put in situations where you have to apply those things. And you're really shown like how we are really nothing without Christ, because everything that I do is just fleeting and vanity and striving after wind. But as soon as you put the Lord there and you like pursue him in all that you do, it's literally everything in the world. So
you're coming to the end of your time here.
Yeah.
What are the plans now?
That's very interesting. I've been asked it a lot recently, and I'm still trying to figure it out myself. But as of now, I'll probably just go home and work.
So, are you nervous about going home?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
I think, it's weird because I obviously did my second year a little bit backwards. Like I started my my second year in January, and then I'm just finishing it this semester in the fall. So I had the opportunity to like go home during the summer and be put back into like the workplace and back into like the regular world, which you never realize how difficult it is to be poured back or to be put back into there once you come from such a strong bubble, literally on a hilltop. Yeah. And so I think, it does make me a little bit nervous because I'm always afraid of like falling back into things, but I know that like the Lord has, brought me out of those in the past, and those chains are no longer on me anymore because he's conquered that and he's died for that. And so I can go back confidently with him. Yeah.
Well, and I want to encourage you too, because you've already said it. You've said it you've literally said it once, and you've alluded to it a second time, is that he remains faithful. Mm-hmm. And so he is our confidence. Mm-hmm. I know the book of Hebrews tells us to enter in with confidence. Mm-hmm. And, so we think, I got to have that confidence. I got to, make sure I do this and this and this, and make sure I'm with these people so this doesn't happen. And all those things are good things, but that can't be our confidence. In chapter 10 of Hebrews, what's being laid out for us there is that what Christ has done, that he has removed the old and replaced it with the new. Mm-hmm. And then there's in that chapter all these different just characteristics, all these truths of that he's what he has done is once for all. He remembers our sin no more. Mm-hmm. He indwells us. He is sanctified for all times. So and that there's certain victory in him. And so then the writer says, now enter in with confidence. And so you look at it within the context, and he is our confidence. Mm-hmm. So you're going to mess up. Oh yeah, absolutely. But he's not. Mm-hmm. And he's not going to leave nor forsake. Mm-hmm. Chapter 13 of Hebrews. Absolutely. So you can trust him for all that he is and all that he's ever shown himself to be, mm-hmm. to remain. And when you mess up, just confess. Not flippantly. When I say just, I don't mean flippantly. Oh, yeah. But it's a confession. And then what? Again, Hebrews, fixing your eyes on him and trusting him for what he's doing. Mm-hmm. Lord, this is your day. This is your job, not my job. Wherever your work is, this is what you have before me, and I thank you that it's your business, and I trust you. Mm-hmm. And he will always. I can say this for sure. He will always show himself faithful to his life in you. Absolutely, yeah. Well, Cass, thanks for being here. Thanks for doing this. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me, Kelly. You bet.
Thank you for listening to the His Hill podcast today. We hope you enjoyed this episode featuring our host, Kelly Doherty, and one of our second-year students, Cassidy Gerbrandt. We returned on Friday from our week of serving in Nacogdoches, Texas for our annual service project trip, and we are already back into the normal routine of classes, outreaches, and loops before evening lectures. We have a full fall schedule with upcoming retreats and are excited to welcome even more people to the Hilltop over the next few months. Please keep praying for all of us here that we would keep our hearts open to the Lord's leading and continue to be living proof of a loving God. Once again, you've been listening to the His Hill podcast featuring our host, Kelly Doherty, and one of our second-year students, Cassidy Gerbrandt. Thank you so much for tuning in with us today. Remember to keep your eyes fixed on Christ, and don't forget to be encouraged. He is for you. I'm Lizzie, and we'll see you next week.